What's going on, guys? Bjorn here again, Goosebumps #1 Aussie fan, bringing you another book review. So if you haven't read this one yet, I highly recommend it. A Night in Terror Tower is fantastic. It is definitely one of the most nostalgic, the most amazing Goosebumps books, but not just books. The episode, I would say, is a very good representation, and it is fantastic. Very enjoyable episode. It is definitely one of the most high budget, sort of well-made ones out of them. There's like a behind-the-scenes thing that you can actually watch on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description. And if you haven't seen the episode yet, if you want to read the book first, then yeah, go ahead. But I would highly recommend it. It's a great episode, very good representation. But yeah, guys, just finished up reading it, so let's dive in, shall we? Sue and her younger brother Eddie are American tourists visiting London, and they're basically checking out all these different museums with like a tour guide until they eventually end up in Terror Tower. Sue doesn't obviously really want to go, but like Eddie is really keen, so in the end they do both decide to go. But during the tour, Sue notices this strange guy wearing like all black following them through the castle. They get led into this room where the tour guide tells them about the story of Prince and Princess Edward and Susanna, who were both sentenced to death by the king. So already you can probably guess that the names sound very similar to Sue and Eddie. Sue is actually really interested and fascinated by the story, but yeah, Eddie ends up like breaking her camera. So they start fighting and bickering and carrying on, but not before long, they realize the tour group has pretty much already left and nowhere to be seen in sight. And they're obviously getting a bit scared, whatnot. Then the strange man in black appears and tries to capture them. So yeah, they end up running away down hallways and tunnels, and they eventually end up in a sewer. They find a ladder that obviously is going to lead outside, so they like hoist themselves up and find themselves in the parking lot, where the tower, obviously Terror Tower. So they end up getting a cab that takes them to their hotel room, but when they go to like pay the taxi driver, they realize that the money that their parents has given them is like worthless, and it's not even like real, it's like play money. And which is kind of weird in a sense, like what the actual hell, like. But the cab driver like agrees to wait outside while they try to find their parents so they can actually pay him with real money. But when they go inside the hotel, they are told that there is no record of them or their parents ever even checking in. So Sue and Eddie are obviously really confused. They can't even remember anything, not even their real like last names. So they then just decide to try and escape because they know the taxi driver would obviously be looking for them to pay the fare. But once again, after they go running through the kitchen, they like bump into the guy wearing the, black. He then starts asking Eddie to give back the 3 white stones that he had pickpocketed because, yeah, Eddie's like a real pickpocket. Once he, gives them back to the man dressed in black, he starts, saying this chant thing, and then Sue and Eddie, not before long, end up back in the olden days, like from the story with the prince and princess. Sue obviously then realizes she has lost Eddie, and she is no longer in the 21st century anymore. She decides to pay a peasant some money to hide her, and is obviously shocked when she realizes the coins in her pocket are actually real gold this time. But then the man dressed in black shows up once again, the peasant quickly turns her in, and before she knows it, Sue is reunited with her brother Eddie, locked up in a cell. But not before long, the pale man in black taunts them with the white stones again, and shortly after, a sorcerer appears. He introduces him as himself as Morgrid, the king's personal magician. He then reveals to Sue and Eddie that they are actually the prince and princess from the story, and had sent them to the future to try and protect them from being executed. He then tells them about how he used the stones to send them as far into the future as he possibly could. Then they eventually try to make a break for it, but out the open cell door. But Morgred explains that if he lets the children go, the king will kill him, basically. Eddie then reveals that he had actually managed to pickpocket the stones once again. So Morgred starts using the ancient Latin words, chanting them to send them back into the future once again. But not only did he send the children in the future, but he also sent himself into the future. So before long, they end up with the tour group once again, and he reveals to them, this is actually kind of funny, he reveals to Sue and Eddie that that the children just mysteriously disappeared. So future has been rewritten kind of thing, the story has been rewritten. So Morgred then appears and thanks Sue and Eddie for letting him, come with them into the future. So yeah guys, it's basically the story of Night in Terror Tower. It is a fantastic Goosebumps book. It's definitely one of the most nostalgic ones. The episode was actually really well made, I must admit. It's one of the more well made episodes. It's really, really good. But yeah, for scare factor, I would say probably about 8 out of 10, I would say. Yeah. I mean, it's not too scary. I mean, the only kind of freaky things that I would say in this book is probably the part where he's chasing them down the hallways. It kind of makes me think of that chase scene in Terminator 2 where the T-1000 is chasing John Connor, when he's on his little motorbike thing and he's just running at him like this. It kind of makes me think of that for some reason. I don't know why. It just appears in my head when I'm reading it. But yeah guys, it's a great book. Out of 10 overall, I would say probably about I'd say a 9 out of 10 for this one. Goosebumps approved. But yeah guys, it is a fantastic Goosebumps book. The episode is also really good if you haven't seen it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend checking that one out. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this book review. I believe the next one I will be doing is The Haunted Mask, followed by The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, and so on and so on. But yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this book review, and I will see you again soon.